Hey everyone, so let's talk about AI. It's not science fiction anymore, right? It's everywhere, helping with everything from what you see on your newsfeed to really critical medical decisions. But that brings up a massive question. With all this power, how do we actually trust it? How do we know it's getting things right? Well, that's exactly what we're going to dig into.
And to really get to the bottom of this, our story starts in Europe. A few years back, in 2019, the European Commission got a group of top experts together to create a blueprint for something they called trustworthy AI. This was a huge deal, one of the first really serious attempts to lay out, on paper, what it actually means for an AI to be ethical, safe, and, reliable.
So here's our game plan. First, we're going to talk about why trusting AI is such a non-negotiable in the first place. Then, we'll dive right into that European blueprint and its 7 key requirements. After that, we're going to pop the hood and look at the engineering side of things. And finally, the best part. We'll connect all the dots and see how this high-level policy stuff is actually coming together with real-world practice to build AI we can all depend on.
Yeah, let's be real. AI isn't just some fancy calculator doing math problems anymore. It is becoming a partner in really important decisions that affect our lives. And when the stakes get that high, making sure it's reliable isn't just a nice feature. It is absolutely essential.
I mean, just think about it for a second. We've got AI helping doctors spot diseases, helping companies decide who gets an interview, and helping banks decide who gets a loan. It's being woven right into the fabric of our society. So that means we have to ask some tough questions. How do we make sure these incredibly powerful systems are also fair, that they're safe, that they are truly worthy of our trust? That is the big challenge we're unpacking today.
All right, so let's get into Europe's big idea here. The brilliant thing is they didn't want to just play defense and react to problems as they came up. They wanted to build a proactive framework, a guide for developing AI the right way from the very beginning.
And this entire framework, it's built on 3 core pillars. The main idea is that to be considered trustworthy, an AI system has to check all 3 of these boxes, not just at the start, but through its entire life.
So what are they? First up, it has to be lawful. That's the baseline, right? It has to follow the law. But, and this is key, that's not enough. It also has to be ethical, which means it needs to align with our basic ethical principles and values. And finally, it has to be robust. That means it's technically solid so it doesn't break, and it's socially sound so it doesn't cause unintended harm to people.
And really, at the absolute heart of this whole vision is one simple but really powerful idea. AI has to be human-centric. The technology is here to serve us, to improve our lives and our freedom, not the other way around. That single principle really drives everything else in this framework.
Now, to turn these big ideas into something you can actually use, the framework gets more specific. It starts with fundamental human rights and then distills those down into 4 core ethical principles: respecting human autonomy, preventing harm, making sure things are fair, and, this one's huge, explainability. Okay, but even principles can feel a little abstract, can't they? So the framework takes it one step further. It breaks those principles down into 7 concrete, actionable requirements that developers can actually use when they're building these systems. And here they are. These requirements cover things like human oversight, data privacy, and accountability. Now, for our story today, we're going to zoom in on 2 that are absolutely crucial for building trust in the tech itself: technical robustness and transparency. So, we have this fantastic ethical blueprint, but how does an engineer sitting at a keyboard actually build for things like fairness and transparency in the real world? This is where we shift gears and see how this amazing policy vision translates into actual technical practice.
Think of it like this. An architect can draw up a beautiful blueprint for a new skyscraper. But while it's being built, you need tools, right? You need levels, stress testers, and inspectors to make sure the building is actually safe and being built to code. So what are the inspection tools for AI?
Well, that's where this field called AI observability comes in. It's basically a whole set of tools and practices that give engineering teams a complete, non-stop view of how their AI models are really behaving out in the wild. You could call it the inspection toolkit for modern AI.
See, AI models aren't something you just build once and forget about. They can actually get worse over time. The world changes, and the data they start seeing in real life can drift away from the data they were trained on. This causes major problems, like data skew or model staleness, which can make the AI unreliable. AI observability is designed to catch these things before they become a disaster.
And this right here is the aha moment. This is where our two storylines, the high-level ethical policy coming out of Brussels and the nitty-gritty engineering practice coming out of places like Silicon Valley, finally click together.
And this is so important to get. AI observability isn't just some random technical field. It is the thing that makes ethical AI possible. It gives developers the actual tools they need to take those abstract principles from the EU blueprint and make them a concrete reality.
And this table just lays it out perfectly. The EU guidelines call for technical robustness. Well, observability tools deliver by constantly monitoring for things like model decay. They demand transparency. These platforms crack open that black box and give you a window inside. And when they require accountability, observability is what lets you trace a decision all the way back to find out why a model did what it did.
So when you put it all together, what does it mean? It means building AI we can trust isn't just one group's job. It's not just on the policymakers, and it's not just on the engineers either.
Real lasting trust is built right at the intersection of these two worlds. You need the policymakers to set the North Star, to define the why and the what. And you need the engineers armed with the right tools to actually build the systems that can live up to those standards, to figure out the how.
And that leaves us with one last really important question. If this responsibility doesn't just fall on governments or tech companies, then what's our role in all of this? As citizens, as consumers, as professionals, how do we demand and verify that the AI shaping our world is truly built on a foundation of trust? That's something for all of us to think about.